Discussing Depression with Casey Moran. I am Casey Moran. And, I wanted to kind of talk about something that's really been bothering me. I drive around this town of Simi Valley a lot, and I see certain things that remind me of a specific job I once had. I won't go too into detail, but it was a radio station that I worked at for 6 months. And I went to school for radio, and I worked for Angels Radio, and I've done, podcasts even before Infamous Chronicles and Discussing Depression, and been a guest or done my own college radio show, and I was really into radio, and when something in my hometown popped up to be involved, I jumped at it, and I was really excited to do it. So I finally got a chance to be like a third mic, and also to have my own show on the weekends, and then I was a third mic on the main morning show, and it was a blast. I had some of the best times of my life while just being on that show, and it wasn't anything about the money. We kind of started out where, it was a brand new station, so we were doing it, to get the airtime. Just kind of like when you do stand-up, you do it in the beginning to get the station. So it was great because a lot of people I went to school with got to hear me on the radio. I went to my high school reunion, 10-year reunion, and people were like, I hear you on the radio, and it was awesome. People going on their way to work or listening online can say they heard me on the radio, and I talked about high school reunions and all this other stuff. It was awesome. But something happened. Kind of like what we talk about in a lot of these episodes of Discussing Depression. I have my own episodes of depression, and it got to the point where it was too much, and that was the first time I had to go to the inpatient facility. I even called into the radio show while at the inpatient to let them know it was okay. But when I got back, I planned on going straight to work right after the holidays, and I did that. The problem was I wasn't ready. Once you get out of these inpatient programs, the problem is you need time to stick on the schedule and do all that, and I was kind of manicky, and I jumped back at this opportunity to do the radio, and I wasn't stable enough. My brain just wasn't ready to handle, the pressures of being on air and being kind of recognized around town as somebody that worked for this show that was popular and starting to really get some exposure and some traction. So, long story short, I just wasn't stable, and the fine people of the radio show, not the show, but the station, who gave me an opportunity, kind of let me know, hey, you need to take a break. You're not ready to come back. And I kind of acted like, I kind of was rude to them, and I shouldn't have been. But I wasn't stable, and they were right. And I was supposed to come back in like May, and then I just didn't. I wasn't in my right mindset. So long story short, I ended up not going back because of battling my own demons, not staying on my meds, and staying on a schedule, and it still bothers me, and I had to get it out. The problem with this show is also the good thing about this show is I'm trying to be 100% honest. And when I suppress a lot of things, I have to let these things out via podcast so other people can hear them. The reason I guess I'm doing this one in particular is so you can learn from my mistake. I think sometimes when you're dealing with something like mental illness or some type of other addiction, whether it's a sex addiction or a gambling addiction or alcohol addiction, drug addiction, whatever it might be. It doesn't always have to be those things, but it could be a food addiction, it could be anything. Sometimes I think we forget that these addictions or diseases or just our willingness to take care of ourselves can affect or cost us our jobs. Things that we love to do, things that we're all about, things that doesn't feel like a job, things that are just entertaining and fun. It's like if I were to continue to get depressed, which I do, and the Infamous was just like, hey man, we're taking your show away. It would kill me because it was something that I felt like I was meant to do. I don't think I'm good at much, but things that I was meant to do, I think were entertaining. And theater of the mind, hanging out and doing radio shows and joking with two people that were really good mentors to me. And I hope to one day have them on this show to explain this to, because then I won't name them or name the name. But if you live in Simi Valley, you know the radio station, but I don't need to say the name, and I'm not at all trashing them. What I'm doing is, A, I'm a big fan, and B, I'm just explaining how I lost my job there, because it's hard to do, but I think it just, if you do listen to the show, you might be able to get something from this, maybe be able to gain something. When California is an at-will state, which means they can let you go at any time. this place was, they brought me aboard when they had a lot of other big talent, people that are still there that I went to school with that were even more skilled than I am. They gave me an opportunity when they didn't have to. Not that when nobody else would, but whenever you want to do something, to do it in your own hometown that you grew up in is very rare. And I got to do it for 6 months, and I am very, very grateful and appreciative of that. I still need to express that to them, and that's not what this podcast is about. This is a podcast to, again, learn from my mistake. And when you're going through something like depression or, like we said, addiction, and it could cost you your job, if you can take a break from it, a leave of absence or something like that, or sometimes explaining to your manager or supervisor what you're going through isn't the best. I've done it before, and they're skeptical because at the end of the day, even though it's a great, whatever, it's a TV station or a radio station or a sports team, it's a business first and foremost. They need to make money, and they might not be able to see them making money on somebody that is a question mark because they're going through something, although they like that person. That's not the case at this place. They actually were willing to, because a lot of us started for free, and when we were starting to make money, they still would have been like, all right, like, you could take as much time as you. They were very, very great with my schedule, and they gave me opportunities to, learn from other shows and more equipment stuff and promotions. I did Casey on the corner, and I'd stand on the corner with these stickers and hand them out. It was awesome. I got to see people I know, and it really could have been a dream job for a long time. And I screwed it up because I wasn't 100% honest with myself like I am right now about thinking I was ready to go back. That's what this is about. So, we finished our team meeting like I talked about in a previous episode, and we did an episode of Infamous Chronicles, and then we're just in the garage hanging out after the show, and I was like, you know what? I should record. And somebody that's here with me that might, relate to this is somebody that I've known for a while through Infamous. He's a really good dude. And I asked him if he'd come on, and he doesn't need to chime in a lot. But if he could relate or share a little bit of background, great. If not, no problem. I can do this. I do it all the time by myself. But it's an honor to have him. And he's a supporter of the Infamous Chronicles. He's been on there a couple times. He's a good dude. His name is Drew, and just happy to have him. What's up, man?
What's up, Casey? Thank you for having me on.
Dude, thanks for it. Yeah, man. Thanks for doing this. This is I know it's hard because this isn't a bullshit show, and those are the best. But it's a serious show, and somebody told me, a friend of mine that I had on the show. She told me this show is great because it's actually like the different side of you, the serious side that most people don't see, and it's really cool because that's the authentic Casey that I know. Not that the bullshitting around isn't, but there's some fakeness to it because it's really fake it till I make it. But you've been great because you've been a supporter not just to the show but to me. Because like a lot of people, like myself, you've dealt with your own problems with depression and anxiety and that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. You don't need to go into that, but can you relate to anything about, just feeling like, dealing with your own brain can cost you something that you really love?
Well, I don't know if I can say that it cost me something I loved, but I really had one of those moments where depression and anxiety hit me when I had my first job, and it was at the grocery store.
Okay.
So, and like you said, I saw all my friends, everyone come in.
Right.
But just some of those times, I just didn't want to be there.
Right.
And every time they came in, I was just like, what's up? And
yeah.
Just basically, I would go to work, just go to work because I had to.
Right.
When I could have, because I had so many friends that I met that through there, I could have been going there and enjoying the time.
Right.
I didn't.
Yeah, that's a great point. I worked at a movie theater my first job, and that was really when I was 16 is when I got diagnosed with depression and ADHD and all that. And it's hard when you're 16 and it's your first job. It's totally understandable to see people and all that. But as you get older, to see people at a job where you're like, and not that you were, but I worked at another movie theater when I was 25, graduated from college, and I was an in-between job, and I would see people I know, were 7 years out of high school. I have my degree, I've worked for the Angels, I've done all this stuff, I was still working at the Angels, and I was working this, shitty job at a movie theater. And I only say shitty because you're 25, you have your degree, you're living at home, you just feel like a piece of shit, and you see these people walk in, and it doesn't help your depression and anxiety when you see people. Like, I am for sure an extrovert, but when I'm depressed, I'm an introvert. I don't want to be around people.
That's exactly how I am too.
Right. So
it sucks.
It does suck because, you do like to be around people, but when you're good, on your own terms. And I think that's, whether you have depression or not, I think that's something that we can all agree with. I just think that it's a stigma that, okay, so I'm going through this thing where I'm starting, now that I'm 30 and I'm trying to figure stuff out, part of me believes that I can't work again because my depression is so bad. But it's my brain telling me that. It's like, I could just sign up for disability and just work a whatever job. But I know, because I've held plenty of jobs in the past, that I can do it. But it's your brain telling me that. And the more that you do that and you let them, the voices or the depression win, that's when, your brain deteriorates a little more, or in your own head. And then you can lose out on friendships and relationships and all these other fun things that happen. I can't tell you how many parties or games or events that I missed because I just wanted to isolate and sit in my room and watch Dawson's Creek and do nothing, But I know I love Dawson's Creek. But here's a little side rant. I like to do side rants on the show. They do these national sibling days. I love my brother, and I like that. But
Wait.
National Sibling Day? So it's like...
When?
It was today.
Oh, shit, well...
I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Sorry, Mrs. Infamous.
That's the problem. They have these national days. The National Hot Dog Day, National Donut Day. They came out of nowhere. And it was just really for people to, I don't know if it was to buy their sibling, but it's for business, right? And when I worked at this radio station, I would just make stuff up because I hated these national days. I'm like, guys, it's National Dawson's Creek Day. Are you Team Pacey or Team Joey? And just do this stupid stuff. But it was fun. So I just brought that up. I watched Dawson's Creek today, and it was sad. And I watched Beverly Hills 90210 and just killed some time. It was fun. The life of Casey. So anyways, so when you're at a grocery store and you're supposed to you're not only going to see your friends or maybe family, but you're going to run into, you have to deal with people. Whether you're bagging groceries, checking people out, even stocking shelves, you have to deal with some type of people.
All the time.
Right, and so when you're on your own head, that's the thing. I think that people forget that, awkwardness.
You have to put up a second face. That's what I thought of it as.
Right, it's weird because there's these stigmas, you gotta fake it till you make it.
Exactly.
But then people say, I don't like fake people. So it's like these contradictions that happen all the time. It's hypocritical, but what do you think got you out of those times? I mean, it doesn't need to be medication, it doesn't need to be exercise, but was it a specific person? Was it just showing up every day and it just kind of came together?
I think it was just me showing up, and because I had so many friends,
right?
And most of them knew that I had depression,
right?
And they can tell the signs, kind of.
That's great that you have a support system like that.
Well, I used to, not as much now,
right?
But that's besides the
sure.
point. But they would just invite me to things constantly.
Yeah.
They'd try to get me out of the bubble.
Right.
My sister would do the same thing. My mom. They would find something to try to break the bubble.
Right.
But...
Okay. Let me ask you this. I've known your sister for a long time. From my opinion, and this isn't even, I'm not asking her to come on or anything like that, even though this is their own house. I don't think she deals with any mental illness. But,
not that I know of.
Yeah, she's very, supportive, which is great.
Yes.
Do you think it runs in your family? Or, because it is genetic for mine, but it skips a generation.
Well, I don't know about the depression, because from what I remember, I was tested for ADD and ADHD.
Sure.
When I was in elementary school.
Oh, wow.
So
did they give you medication that early on?
I think it was 4th grade I started taking Adderall.
See, that's an early time to do it, because when I was in college, people were taking Adderall and Ritalin to stay up and stuff. They're uppers.
So, and it just changed my mood. That's the reason why I hated taking it.
Well, that's a great point, because it puts a mask on you almost.
Exactly.
And I remember when I was young and I was about to play football, my parents told me not to work out because you don't want to work out super early on when your body's not developed. It's the same thing with your brain. Your brain isn't fully developed till you're 24. So you're putting in medication. Now, I'm not discrediting medication. But it's like,
So,
well, here's the thing. It has worked for me, so if it works for you, great. So everybody's body and mind is different, so it doesn't work for everyone. I think the only things that work for people, and I've said this before, is exercise, eating healthy, surrounding yourself with supportive people, and and a couple other things, whether it's yoga or meditation, but that might not work for everyone. But I think eating healthy and exercise are the two main components that are universal. But what I'm trying to say is I think when you have medication when you're that young, it's hard to, expect something to work for you when your brain's not all there yet. But your parents did the right thing to at least, because people are telling you like, oh, well, he's not paying attention here. He's bright, but he's not paying attention here and here. Let's try this out. I think, and you're a good amount younger than me, but I still think that those medications weren't fully perfected yet. I think they are now, but
I'm pretty sure that was the beginning of it.
That's the thing.
That was early 2000s when I was taking that stuff.
Right. So, I mean, like in the 90s and 2000s, although mental illness and ADHD and all these things they were always there, but they were more aware. Mm-hmm. There was still a stigma from older generations, like our parents' generation, to give these medications out because not all, but a good amount of older people, like our parents' generation, they didn't believe in medication because even though their parents might have had depression because it was around but it wasn't talked about, they got through it without medication.
Yeah.
So there's a stigma behind it. Not all, but a good amount. So it is. So so you're taking these medications early. Did you decide like later on like this just isn't for me? I can get through it without it.
Well, I was taking that through, I think that was 4th grade. I took it until high school.
You take it every day, too?
Yeah.
I
take it twice a day, too.
You never had a problem swallowing it? I have a problem.
In the beginning.
Yeah.
But I just got over that.
Did it instantly hit you and it made you feel different?
No, it would kick in. I would take it like right before I would go to school.
Yeah.
And it would kick in at like maybe 10 o'clock.
Right.
11, and then it would start declining. And then I would have to take another one after school to pick me back up.
Wow.
For the homework and everything I had to do then.
Wow. Did your classmates see a difference in you?
I don't think a lot of people knew what ADD and ADHD was back then.
Right.
Because I think that was when it was actually just coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to bring up pop culture here, but The Simpsons did an episode on ADD, and Bart had ADD, and they gave him like Ritalin, and they showed it, like the difference in him. And I remember that was like probably late 90s, early 2000s, the highlight, the peak or prime of The Simpsons. And I remember seeing that. And I took that medication when I was 16, but my mom was telling me that I took the medication easier then, and now I have a hard time. I have to watch my mom has to watch me take it and make sure I take it, and I gag. It's like just taking this medication it brings back all these memories that when I am depressed and I go through an episode and when I'm done doing it, when I start to feel better, I stop doing the things that work for me, whether it's eating healthy or exercising or medication, like we're talking about. So now you're not doing it, but you're stable. You have a full-time job and you stick on the schedule. You support yourself with good people. Is there any advice for people that not just have depression or anxiety, but family members that might have somebody in their family that are dealing with a mental illness, such as one that you have, that they might not know what to do?
I think one thing is, if you have it, surround yourself with people, with good people, like how we have.
Right.
I think this group is the reason why I don't have depression as much anymore.
Right. And you show up every day, and I asked you about that. I was like, man, like because I go through my episodes and I stop showing up for a while.
Yeah.
But you're here every day, and you were like, I have it too. And I was like, well, why you keep showing up? And you're like, this is what I like to do.
Yeah.
I like hanging out and having a good time and laughing and just being there. And it does help. My brother always told me that too. It is National Sibling Day. Let's talk about him. He always told me, you get out of the house, man. Stop isolating, go hang out with people. And he doesn't have it, but he understands it more. I think because I've dealt with it for so long. So,
but it is really hard for when you have depression and you're going through one of those phases,
right,
to leave.
Yeah.
Because that happened to me multiple times. That was me through high school.
You just get in your comfort zone. You just want to hang out and just do nothing. And people are like, you just want to feel sorry for yourself. You're lazy. That's not the case.
No,
you just, and it's like, we don't need to go into like suicide or anything like that, but you just don't want to be around, you know. I'll just say it, like, I have times where it's hard to like just take a shower, like just, you know.
Unfortunately, I was the same.
Yeah, dude. But it's like, and I know people are like, oh, that's gross, and I get it. If you don't have it, I could see how you think that's gross. But for me, it's like the thought of just getting up and getting in the shower. What I used to do is I'd get up. If I didn't have to work or go to school, I'd get up, I'd take a shower, I'd come right back and go to bed. So you feel like gross because you just took a shower and you go back in fucking the same pajamas and just try to sleep. Because for me, sleeping, I don't have to deal with it. I'm dreaming of something happy because I don't really drink anymore. I don't smoke, and so I have some pretty vivid dreams. But I don't know. I wanted to get off this, you know, this thing with the radio station I worked at because people still ask me. It's over a year ago that happened, and people still ask me like what happened. And I don't want to. I didn't lie, but I didn't tell the full truth. And it's not to be ashamed that the reason I stopped doing it or we came to a disagreement is because I wasn't ready to come back because I was unstable and I wasn't taking care of myself. There's nothing to be ashamed about. That's the truth. I think you can hide from the truth all you want, but you shouldn't because it's just going to build up and suppress, and that's what happened. And I drive around, I see these stickers, and I still have T-shirts from the station, and I love it. I love the people there, and I need to go in there and apologize to them. But for now, I just need to get this off my chest. And the people that worked at the show that are really great radio talent, and another girl that worked on a separate show that I helped out with every once in a while, maybe will come on and express, you know, what that time was for them, because I helped that show a lot. I was a producer, and I would go get the coffee in the morning. I would print out the news stories, so they could also explain how, you know, me not taking care of myself affected them. I think it's important for people to explain how it's affected them, because I've seen how much it's affected my family. And although you are hurting, it's also affecting other people around you. So I think it's important to take note of that if you're dealing with it. So I just kind of wanted to come on tonight and explain that and get that off my chest. I feel a lot better, and it was so awesome to have Drew here. It was a last minute. It was just a spontaneous episode. And is there anything else you want to say, Drew, to anybody that might be going through it, or you know, to anybody that's just kind of lost right now?
Well, like I said, if you have it and you're going through it, find someone to talk to.
Right, and seek help. I mean,
exactly.
There's no... That's the thing, as guys, you know, we're walking around high school with this mental illness, and we're supposed to be these manly men trying to get girls or playing sports or whatever it is. In reality, it's like, it's not that it's harder for guys to have depression. It's just that, than it is for girls, but it's that for guys to show emotion at such a young age, in this world of people that are, you know, hormones and all these things that are going on, you know, it's, we're not alone, and it's good to have people that are close with you, like you, that also deal with it, you know, and I think it's, dude, you pulling me aside and telling me you deal with it too means a lot, because it's great to come to a place where you're with people that understand it, you know. But thank you so much for coming on, and thank you all for listening, and thank you for, and please, you know, review, you know, the podcast on iTunes, and comment, you know, rate that 5-star if you like it, and if you don't, well, you know, it is what it is. But we have some sponsorships coming up that we'll talk about for next week. A Mother's Day sponsorship, especially, and a couple other things, some exciting things to talk about here in Discussing Depression. We have some great guests coming up, and I cannot wait. But I really cannot thank you all enough for all the comments and just listening and being a friend. And Andrew, thank you so much for all you do, not just for Discussing Depression, but for Infamous Chronicles, and just for being a friend, man. This is fun to do last second, 11:23 at night. Thank you guys and girls all so much, and we will all talk to you next week. Thank you.